It just turns on hundreds, thousands, I'm sure. We only looked for 10. It turned out that every time we looked for one, we found a mechanism that the animal protein was actually doing exactly the thing to cause disease. No exceptions. No exceptions. And we do it all together. All together. Let's look at the next slide here real quick. I had another way of representing this. This is, look at that line along there. I unfortunately can't show you on here, but the top chart just shows a lot timelines. Cancer starts out initiation, then it divides, and then it goes formed. We get cancer eventually. And I've just listed there a bunch of mechanisms without getting into the detail. Okay, up the top, you got all the white ones that turn on. They've got the little yellow one there, turning off the good stuff. The same thing happened in the bottom. That's the other thing. As I said, I don't want to get too far into this. But what was amazing about this, the animal protein increased the cancer promotion mechanisms across the board. No exceptions. And it decreased our two mechanisms we have for turning cancer off. So, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. And it happens within seconds when we consume animal protein. It starts doing its work. It's doing its dirty work. Everything it does is the wrong thing. Everything it does is the wrong thing in terms of actually disease. And I'm sure the same thing works with heart disease as well. They all work in unison. Work in unison. That's nature. I would argue that is nature itself. We eat the right food, turn over the whole affair to nature. She knows what to do with it. You know, we eat the right food, you've got thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of different nutrients and nutrient-like substances. She gathers them all together, or sorts them out, and it's a lot more explanation for that. But she does it in a marvelous way. That is nature. And so we don't live with nature. We like to live with foreign chemicals called drugs. If we get sick, we'll have a drug to do this out of something else. When the single most important thing for generating health is just eating the right food in the first place. All plants. No drugs. One more thing I just want to share with you. I mean, that observation there says, without a doubt, it just shows beyond a doubt, no one will ever show anything the alternative. Animal protein is doing a bad deal on us. Here's some other things that I just, in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been picking up from the research of others who have published their work in years past, didn't really know, didn't really quite interpret the right way. Here's a kidney cancer. This one here is a paper done back about 35 to 40 years ago. It's in different countries, and it shows that kidney cancer increases as animal protein increases. That's a pretty straight line relationship, right? Here's one, heart disease. That was 1959. The more animal protein is consumed, more heart disease. That's pretty different countries. These are comparing countries. Here's one for prostate cancer. In this case, they looked at the relationship between skim milk and prostate cancer, and you see the same straight line relationship. And they all said, "Oh, we got to worry about skim milk. You know, skim milk. That's supposed to be the good kind of milk." That's what we ended up doing on our farm. But that's the good kind of milk. But unfortunately, skim milk causes prostate cancer. A really impressive relationship. So what is skim milk? Skim milk is minus the fat, and milk doesn't have much sugar in it anyhow. So skim milk is nothing more than a protein drink. It's a drink of animal protein. Look at that prostate cancer. You see the same thing with some others too. Look here. These are all different researchers. I just went back to the literature collected to put, look at the linear regressions. Here's one for breast cancer. It goes right through what we say the XY origin. In other words, what it suggests, you only eliminate the risk by going all the way to zero. That's what it's saying. Don't mess around with animal food or animal protein. Here's one for consuming cholesterol. We thought a long time ago that we can make more cholesterol, that means more heart disease. It's not because of the cholesterol. It's because when we're consuming more cholesterol, that's only in animal foods. So we're really consuming animal protein. That's really what it is. Again, the same relationship. Here's colon cancer in meat. Same thing again. All these slides here, I'm the one to put the regression lines on recently. Researchers did not do that. They said, oh, meat causes colon cancer, skim milk causes prostate cancer. Then they argue about it. Yeah, but if it causes prostate cancer, I mean, you can see where the opportunity arises for enormous confusion. A lot of debate and argument, even amongst the people in science themselves. So I call all these things here, whether it's cholesterol, meat, total fat, I mean, these are all surrogates for animal protein. And they all show the same thing. Disease, heart disease, cancers, whatever. You know, we start eating this food, we're asking for trouble. Here's that one, the last one I put there that's plants. No relationship. So it's not just a function of that protein itself. So here's the bottom line. I call it holistic nutrition, and that word holism was always spelled with an H. I put a W in front of it because I wanted to take that concept in a way and refer it back to the idea of what I call holism. When we eat food from the plant kingdom, and it's got hundreds of thousands of things in there, each one of those things have their own mechanism to do what they do, and they all end up working in unison like a symphony. Multiple nutrients, multiple mechanisms, multiple diseases, what I've got it listed there. And it's an idea that works for all people in the world, whatever the ethnic cuisine may be. All they need to do is consume the plants in that area. And as far as individuals are concerned, there's no special formula for you to have spinach, and you have Swiss chard, and you have something else. That's not the issue. That is not the issue. All the issue is just consume a variety of plant foods. So, 2 dietary goals: consume whole plants. By the way, I'd hate, kind of almost hesitate to walk into this territory here because it generates a lot of controversy. The medical system we have is focused on exactly the opposite idea. That we can cure our health problems. Maybe we could prevent something too. We could cure that by some drug we might want to take. And the single largest industry in the United States that controls our government, I must say, is the pharmaceutical industry. That's what it's all about. You know, we're going to maintain health. We're going to restore our health. I don't mean to say that some drugs are not good. You know, of course, in the short term we can have that, but it should not. Our system is actually based on the use of what I call synthetic biology instead of natural biology. Nutrition is natural biology. It's nature at work. Just eat the right stuff. That's all that Mother Nature is asking for. We don't need to get sick and then hope we're going to have a chemical to try to make us well. No, it doesn't work that way. In fact, do you know the side effects of drugs is the 3rd leading cause of death in this country? Right behind heart disease and cancer, and that's either 3rd or 4th, depending on how you rank them. But the 3rd or 4th leading cause of death is the side effects of drugs. And our CDC organization, the government organization, has never wanted to acknowledge that. But it's published, it's done very well. People who publish that kind of stuff get in trouble. That's what happens. So the medical system is what I call reductionist, opposite of holist. One disease, one cause, one mechanism. The argument usually is made, we're going to get a chemical be really targeted to that one mechanism. You'd hear that oftentimes, side effects. So this is why nutrition is not taught in medical schools. There's not a medical school, not one medical school in the United States that teaches nutrition. It would destroy their trade. It's just that simple. I've lectured here a number of years. I had a friend at the Syracuse Medical Center, actually, usually come up once a year, because he kind of bought into some of the things I was doing. And so I did it there, I did it here. But I also spoke at about 150 medical schools across the country at times, because I wasn't representing that point of view. And it turns out that people in the trade, there's a really, I don't want to get after physicians, I don't want to get after my colleagues, because we're all caught in the same thing. I was there myself. It's just the fact that we get caught up in this paradigm of making money first, not making health. So we're actually channeling our thoughts into trying to create those opportunities to basically sell drugs or other things to create good health. When in fact, the question is really quite simple. If we did that, a lot of people would have problems with the system. Anyhow, the medical system, we're working on that now, and actually, I have some colleagues in medicine, some really principled people, pretty high up, actually are beginning to buy into this idea. I'm very excited about it because it's now beginning to appear, in the medical system. Here's one more thing I'll leave you with. The thing you've heard about the environment, the number one cause of environmental problems of all kinds is eating the wrong food, believe it or not. We're relying on animal food programs that lead to all kinds of things. And I just listed here a bunch of environmental problems. You can see global climate warming, loss of water, forest loss, all that. All those things are usually treated as separate entities, which only causes more confusion. They're good. We should work intensely. We should work intently on these individual problems. But when we do that, we should not forget the idea that overlaying the whole thing is just eating the wrong food. On human health, you can see that over there, blood-brain infection. Our life expectancy is going down, believe it or not, in the United States. We're in last place now in the Western world, among affluent countries. We are last place in terms of life expectancy. We're living the least. We're living the shortest period of time compared to other Western countries. And we're also number one in the world in using drugs. We spend the most. We've gone down the wrong track, just ignoring nutrition. So let me finish this. I kind of like this expression. This is not my expression. I read it someplace else. On protein and lots of other things too, but on protein I'll stick with that. We don't know what we don't know. And I can speak from some experience on that because I did not know what we don't know either. So we don't know what we don't know, and we don't care to ask what we don't know. So let's just think about that. That is the genesis of what I call a paradigm. It's a collective way of thinking for the whole society. A lot of good people thinking the wrong things because we're just swimming in this sea of misinformation, if you will. And when we kind of live with paradigms, we believe all these paradigms, just remember one thing: don't ask questions. Just go with the flow. That's the way, unfortunately, we tend to live. I keep forgetting. I'm going to skip that right there. No, I will tell you this here. This is real data. This has to do with, you get asked oftentimes, why am I standing here and be able to say this thing for one of my colleagues? And I can tell you I've got a lot of great colleagues. They don't really quite have the chance. And universities were created. The concept of the university was created, if you will, 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. And the reason was that they wanted to have a group of people, not just to educate young people, but they also wanted to have people at that, the ones at the faculty, speaking truth. Speaking truth, they were searching for the truth. Whether they liked it or didn't like it, they just would have to follow the facts. And so that's where academic tenure came from. In the university, we always had an academic tenure track, and that's what young faculty would aspire to get an opportunity to be on that academic track. And therefore, they get freedom. They get freedom to speak. It's really important. So I was fortunate. I didn't even know when I got it, when I was awarded my tenure. I was only in my 30s at the time, so well over 50 years ago. So I learned well in spades that they couldn't fire me. That's the key. And let me tell you, there's lots of people who wanted to do that. But the fact of the matter is, our society is going to pay a huge price. This is what has happened. On the line I'm showing you here, the green line, tenure, that's percent of people in the faculty have tenure. able to just, this is 1975. These are data taken from another group. It's declined until 2011. It went down. That's from 70% to 30%. And one who not only on tenure tracks, but to have a full position like a full professor, that was only 9%. When you get to that, then you have the opportunity to say what you feel like saying. You can't be fired, like a shot, but you don't get fired. And on the other hand, the untenured people are going up. Now today, here it is, 2022. Tenure is almost gone in this country. And it's one of my favorite topics in the morning that I really feel very personal about this, because what has happened, science has gone into the ditch just in the last 10, 20 years, really on an ever more rapid rate. Because my colleagues, and I really feel badly for my younger colleagues, they come into the trade to learn things. They just enjoy that, not for money, just learning things. Unfortunately, they only can do that if they stay away from certain topics. Don't tell the public. Don't tell the public. And the public is the loser. In 2011, this particular set of data were at that time. In 2010, by the way, the Supreme Court made a decision that's tied to this. They made a decision called Citizens United. You may have heard of it. Citizens United is a very famous decision the Supreme Court made, and the worst they probably ever made in their